Welcome back to Unpack, where we unpack what hurts so we can heal what's hidden, providing a safe space for men of color to be heard and seen. If you didn't know, I'm MTS. I'm not a mental health practitioner, but I am a patient. And like many men, I know what it's like to carry wounds that no one sees and struggle to find the words to talk about them. And today I want to talk about something that might sound a little extreme: kill the old you. Now, before you go somewhere else with it, let me be very clear. I'm not talking about anything physical. I'm talking about the mental version of you. The version of you that thinks the same way. The version of you that keeps making the same decisions over and over again. The version of you that keeps holding on to them habits that no longer serve you. Because there becomes a point in your life where you have to make a choice. You have to change or become irrelevant. Change or die, like them old cassette tapes and 8 tracks. If you're under 50, go ask your mama or your daddy what that is. I'm not saying you're old. This has nothing to do with your age. I'm not saying your thinking is outdated. What I am saying is that sometimes the person you have become is no longer equipped for where you're trying to go. And that's what I want to unpack today with you. So let me ask you something. What if the next level of your life requires you to leave the old version of yourself behind? Think about technology for an instant. Remember when everyone had a landline? You had to dial it in and wait for it to ring. Then came the car phone. Everybody got rid of their landlines. Then they got the brick cell phones. Then cell phones got smaller and smaller until what we have now is many computers sitting right in the palm of your hand. You can make phone calls. You can send emails. You can take pictures, record videos. Heck, you can even pay your bills and manage your bank account all at the same time. And if you're really good, you could run a small business from your cell phone. And do you just think anything about that little device? Nope, you don't. Now look, technology had to change. Like everything else, it has to grow. And companies back then that refused to change, they are no longer around. But the companies that realized that the world was changing, they changed with it. They moved forward. And here's something I find so interesting about them little phones. Every time you get an upgrade, sometimes that new phone has better features. Sometimes it's faster. Sometimes it's more efficient. And sometimes it fixes those bugs. What if your next level of your life needs an upgrade? Not because you're a bad person. I'm not saying that. Not because you're broken. I'm not saying that. But because there are some bugs in your thinking that need to be fixed. I'm talking about some of the old habits, some of the behaviors that you continue to do, some of the beliefs that you continue to hold on to, some things you learned a long time ago that might have helped you to survive back then, but right now, they're hurting you. You may have heard this, but I've heard a lot of people describe insanity as doing the same thing over and over and over again while expecting a different result. And I want you to sit there with that. Just hold on to it. because sometimes we keep asking, why does this keep happening to me? But we don't stop. We don't ever ask, what am I doing that keeps producing this result? That's a different question. And it's a hard question. Think about money. Have you ever wondered why somebody can win hundreds of millions of dollars and eventually end up broke? Imagine this now. Let's say somebody wins $750 million. Now, that's a lot of money to me. Would you think there was any way they could ever go broke? But it happens. Why? Because just because you have more money doesn't automatically give you a better relationship with money. Just because you have more money can give you more money doesn't simply make your problems in your relationship with money go away. You're going to make the same mistakes. Now, think about weight loss. Some people can lose a tremendous amount of weight and they can successfully keep it off, while others lose weight and eventually gain it back. Why? Sometimes it isn't just the food. What if the food is connected to emotion? What if you eat when you're stressed or when you're lonely? When you celebrate, you're happy, or when you're depressed and you're not feeling your best? If the relationship with food doesn't change, losing the weight doesn't necessarily change the underlying problem. And this is where it gets real. You can change your circumstances without changing yourself. But eventually, the old mindset, the old you, can bring you right back to the old circumstances. That's why the real transformation starts in your mind. It's internal before it shows up externally. Haven't you heard some people say, I'm going to die in debt anyway, so I might as well spend the money? I know I heard that. And to be honest, I heard myself say that. I used to say it back in the day. But then I've seen other people. They would take their little money, they wasn't earning a lot, and they would save it. And with that money, they bought their first property. And eventually, they owned multiple properties. Some came from families just like us, not having much, struggling with money, mismanaging money. What was the difference? Their circumstances were the same, but somewhere along the way, their mindset changed. Because your habits are connected to how you see yourself. If you see yourself as someone who can't manage money, your behavior will probably reflect that. If you see yourself as someone who isn't disciplined, your behavior, guess what? It'll probably reflect that. If you see yourself as someone who can't change, guess what? You may stop trying to change. So I want you to ask yourself, who do I believe I am? And then ask, is the way I see myself now helping me become the person I say I want to be? Because sometimes the biggest thing you need to change isn't your situation or where you live. It's your identity. It's your mindset. There's a scripture in the Bible, and I'm paraphrasing, about putting off the old man and becoming something new. I think that's a powerful scripture. Because becoming something new doesn't mean you're pretending your past never happened. It means your past doesn't get to control your future. Just because you saw Big Mama and Grandpa had bad habits doesn't mean you have to repeat what you saw. Me, I didn't grow up with the silver spoon in my mouth. We didn't have a lot of money. But as a little boy, I dreamed big. But when I became adult, I did the same thing. I had the same problems. I got the same results until I was fed up with my own crap. You see, to remain the same is easy, no lie. But to change and move in a different direction is hard. Trying to make the shift can feel like you are dying because this is new. You're giving birth, and birth is painful. Sometimes you have to ask the question, what you were taught to believe. That's one of the hardest things growing up. Is it wrong? You got to ask yourself, is this actually my belief? Or is this something I inherited? And that's where growth begins. You can ask the hard questions. If you're feeling stuck right now, I want you to hear this. You're not being punished. You are not a bad person because you're struggling. You are not a failure because you're not where you thought you would be or should be in life. Sometimes being stuck is an opportunity to stop and look around and ask yourself, what is really holding me back? Maybe you've been running the same race with the same habits, the same thoughts, and wondering why you're not getting somewhere different. You're like a little hamster on the wheel. Maybe life is giving you an opportunity to finally break that cycle and get off that wheel. But the first step is you have to be honest with yourself. Like Mike said, you have to look at the man or the woman in the mirror. And let me tell you, that's not always comfortable because it's easy to point the finger at someone else. You know we love to do that. My boss is the problem. My relationship is the problem. My family, where I grew up and how I grew up, that's the problem. The economy, the president, that's the problem. Now, sometimes those things may absolutely play a role, but eventually you have to turn to the mirror and look at yourself and ask, what part am I playing? What part am I contributing to my situation? Once again, that's uncomfortable, having them hard conversations with yourself. Because you might see things you don't like. You might see habits you need to change. You might see some decisions in the past that you made that you keep holding on to, that you hold a regret on. You might see opportunities that you missed, but it doesn't make you a bad person, and you shouldn't beat yourself up. Use it to grow. You can't change what you are unwilling to acknowledge. It's the first step of growth. Let me give y'all a story time. One of the first things I had to look at when I was trying to kill off the old me was my credit. I'm gonna keep it real with y'all. My credit was trash, horrible. I'm talking like low 400s, low 500s. I wasn't paying my bills on time. I mean, seriously, I wasn't paying them on time at all. Matter of fact, I hardly was paying them. But something had to change. I realized that I wanted more out of life, and the life I wanted required a different version of me. So I stopped calling them bills. I don't like the way that sounds. I started calling them financial responsibilities. Now, that might sound like a small thing to you, but changing the language changed how I looked at them. To me, saying the words bills, and even right now when I say it, it just takes the life out of me. You feel me? Calling them financial responsibilities, however, made me feel like this is mine, and I call myself a responsible adult, so I need to become responsible about what I owe. So I started writing everything down. It's called a budget. What I owed, when it was due, how much I needed. And then what I did is I broke those payments down and how I could handle them by paying them every 2 weeks. I tell you, getting where I am now, it didn't happen overnight. No, sir. It took time. But something was changing. I didn't see it right away, but it was changing. I was changing. How I thought was changing. And now, when I apply for something that requires them to run my credit, I get up there, I'm not even thinking about will they deny me. That's the old mindset. That's not me now. This is a different version of me. Just totally change any kind of idea of what you used to be or what you used to hold on to. Let that go. Now, you don't fix yourself overnight. It ain't just gonna happen tomorrow. That's where people get overwhelmed. They look at doing everything all at once. And when they do that, most people get overwhelmed. They don't even want to start. But start with one thing. Just one thing. Maybe it's your finances. Maybe it's your health. Maybe it's your communication skills, learning how to speak up and advocate for yourself. Maybe it's in your relationship. Maybe it's your discipline with going to bed, waking up on time. Maybe it's your attitude, stinking attitude, but pick one and work on it. Build some consistency with it. Get that area under control and then move on to the next. Think about it. Like building a house, you don't build the entire house in one day. You build a foundation, you lay the brick down. Then you start to build the structure around the house. You get where I'm going, right? That's what you're doing with your life. You're building it like a house. You're building the future of what you say you want and what you want to have. Now, sometimes you might need help with getting to that next level with changing you. What I want you to do is not be afraid to ask for that help. Sometimes you need somebody who can see something in you that you can't see in yourself right now. Find people who display the traits and the habits you're trying to build. Watch them and what they do. Learn from them. Listen. Ask questions. Get guidance. Get someone to hold you accountable. Get some accountability in your life. You don't need another motivational speech to get you rah, 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 and boom, bah, bah. Sometimes you need somebody who gonna tell you what you don't want to hear. You, my friend, you're getting in your own way. And you need to be mature enough to listen. So, before I close this episode, I want you to think about one question, not 10, not 20, just one. What part of the you needs to go? Is that the way you think about your money? The excuses that you make, your fear, your procrastination? I'm going to do it tomorrow. Then you never do it. Or that negative self-talk that you have while you're looking in the mirror. Or it's your lack of discipline. Or maybe it's the voice inside you that you hear that's telling you, this is just who I am. I've heard so many people say that. This is just who I am. I can't give you no 5-step help program because everyone is different. But what I hope I've given you is a starting point. At the end of the day, you have to want it. I can't want it. Your mama can't want it. No one can want it better than you. You have to be sick and tired of being sick and tired and stand there 10 toes down and say, I'm willing to die. Not physically. You're willing to let the old you go, to kill who you thought you were, who you thought you had to become. We all have a past, but it does not have to define us. It doesn't have to define you. It won't happen overnight. Take it one day at a time. And that starts now. It starts here. Kill the old you. Not physically, but mentally. Kill that mindset. Kill that habit that has kept you stuck. Because as long as you are alive, there was always another version of you, a greater version of you that the world has yet to see. This is Unpack, where we unpack what hurts so we can heal what's hidden, providing a safe space for men of color to be heard and seen. This is MTS. Take care of yourself, and I'll see you on the next episode of Unpack.